All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Tune Under podcast. We are the Southern Hemisphere's best and only Newcastle United-based podcast. Joining me today to do a preview of the Brighton game this weekend, I've got Keegan. How you doing, mate?
Good, Craig. How are you, mate?
Not too bad for a Thursday. I wish it was Friday and get the weekend over and done with, you know. Cannot wait for it, get another game out of the way.
That's it, especially if it's like last weekend.
Oh, God, yeah, it'd be a crack if we can get the same on that one. So today, as already mentioned, we're going to talk about the Brighton game coming up. We're also going to little brief talk about the cup game. That fixture got announced as of early hours of this morning for us here in Australia. And then we're going to touch on a little bit of transfer update towards the end as well. But we're just going to dive straight into it. We're going to get straight onto the Brighton preview. So the game itself kicks off midnight here for myself here in Queensland, which, if you didn't know, is on the east side of Australia. What time's kick off for you, Keegan?
Same as you for now.
For now. Then the clocks change.
Then everyone's clocks change and everything goes to shit for a few weeks until you figure out what time it is for everyone.
Yeah, it really screws with me when the clocks go. It really baffles me. I still don't understand how you've got 4 different time zones in one country.
Yeah, I know.
Still gets me on that one. But yeah, midnight kickoff for us. So that's a 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Traditional kickoff, if you want to call it, back home. And two teams both picked up a win on their opening game. So obviously we beat Forest 2-0 at St James's Park. But Brighton, they had a cracking start of their season with a 2-1 away win at Old Trafford. Were you expecting that result at all, Keegan?
Didn't expect them to win, but given Man United's pre-season and things like that, I'd probably expected a draw, if I'm honest. But then, I mean, you find out after the game, that was the first time they've won at Old Trafford as well. So, I mean, it's pretty as bad as Man United seem to be going on and off the field at the moment. You still thought they probably should have had enough quality to beat Brighton, but full credit to them. I mean, they turned up and they got the 3 points. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Old Trafford, it's not the fortress it used to be, that's for sure. People would go there and actually dread playing them. They're going to get hammered pretty much every weekend. But now you go there and you think, this is a place where I can actually really pick up a few points, scrape a draw if I absolutely have to. It's certainly not as fearsome place as it once was. And that shows just in their league position over the last few years. They're just in a steady decline. And for us Newcastle fans, it's absolutely great to see. Nobody wants to see Man United doing well. But I credit to Brighton on getting that win. It wasn't a cracking game by all accounts in terms of a spectacle. But the one thing that was a bit strange was the formation they ran out with. Apparently, it was a 3-3-3-1. What do you make of
that? The first thing that come to mind was when we had the conversation with when we were linked with James Madison and where would he fit, and sort of spoke about how things aren't like they used to be when it comes to formations and things like that. Like everything's really fluid. Like you can basically play sometimes maybe 6 different formations during a game. You know what I mean? Like with possession, without possession, you might be in front, you want to try and save the game, so you change again, or you got to try and chase the game, you can change again, and everything's really, really fluid. But I don't think I've ever seen a start to a game a 3-3-3-1. Like I'm not sure how it worked during the game, and as if to who pushed up, who dropped back, and all that. But yeah, it was a really bizarre thing to see on the lineups. That's how they sort of lined up.
Yeah, there was a few that made it out to be maybe a 3-5-1 in terms of a defensive formation. So obviously 2 dropping back on that one and so on. But yeah, it's a very unusual formation. Obviously worked for them. They got the win. In terms of possession, it didn't really do them much. They only had 37% possession. But then it is at Old Trafford. And you'd expect you're not going to come away with that much amount of the ball when you're there. Just good. Shame that Man United aren't that good at hitting the back of the net these days. But they had 15 shots on target and Man United 17. 4 of them were on target and Man United's 4. So that's pretty good going for such a low percentage. So, they're definitely a team that like to get on the attack, even with a low amount of possession. And possession is something that they actually done us quite a bit back in March, I believe, Keegan.
Yeah. That, I mean, it doesn't seem that long ago in terms of the calendar year, but it feels like a lifetime ago.
Really does.
Yeah, I think even with their possession, I mean, some of the highlights in the mini match that I watched the other day, they seem to get in behind them a lot too. Like it wasn't like a sort of smash and grab. Like they actually had a few chances and got in behind. Like I know getting in behind Harry Maguire is probably not the most hard thing to do these days, but yeah, they seem to get in behind a fair bit, which is concerning, I guess, that they do have that attacking threat. Their first home game as well is they're probably going to be up for that. Fans will be up for it, and yeah, I think like with you said about Old Trafford and it's not intimidating. I wonder if that's more of a they seem to get a lot of tourist fans in for each game. Who don't really buy into it. I guess they're there for the day and they just want to have a good day and they're happy that they're watching Manchester United play and stuff like that. But I mean, you get to a place like St James's Park, which it is a genuine fortress. Like there is 50,000 screaming Geordies every week who are just roaring their team on. Like they're not just there for a day out; they're there to watch their team. They've been looking forward to it all week. And that's their outlet for 2 hours. So I think that there's a fair difference between the two stadiums. But yeah, when we played them in March, I mean, we've got. Just looking at the lineup from that game, we've actually got six. We'll have 6 different players starting, and that was when we were in our good run too. We were rolling through that period, but we've had Pope, who's come in. If we play the same 11 as what we did on the weekend, we'll have Pope, Trippier, Bruno, Miggy, ASM, and Wilson all starting that fixture. Who didn't start that fixture in March in which we won. So, I mean, Trippier, Bruno, Wilson, and ASM, they're arguably 4 of our better players. So hopefully that makes a big difference to help us get the result we're looking for on Saturday.
Yeah, you'd have thought so. Wilson was obviously a massive loss towards the second half of last season. He's already got a goal this season against Forest. Scored that cracker of a second. And he's going to be so vital to us in terms of getting those goals and just keeping us up in the table. We can't rely on Maxi and Miggy to get the goals. And Bruno seemed to play a little bit deeper than what he did last season. Whether that's because of Shelby's injury, not too sure. Could very well be. He's just playing a bit more defensive role whilst he's out with his hamstring, which is about 3 months, I think he's out for. But yeah, you think with those players that we didn't have back in March against Brighton, bringing them in against this weekend, you'd like to think we probably got the stronger starting 11 out of the two.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the game's not played on paper, unfortunately.
It's not, absolutely not. No.
But yeah,
even against Man United, that's a very strong starting 11. But they got unstuck by Brighton.
Yeah, but I think just touching on Wilson, like you said, I mean, Fabian's goal was an absolute thunderbuster. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think Wilson's getting the credit he deserves for that goal. That was. I said it during the live stream. The sheer physics of it to get his foot where it was and get it past the keeper into the far corner from where they come from was unreal. And yeah, I don't think that was a pure striker's finish. And no disrespect to Chris Wood, but I don't think he's got that in his locker at all.
I'd agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. Now, getting on to our strengths in the squad, you've just mentioned the likes of Bruno, Maxi, Miggy, Wilson. They all didn't play back in March. The importance having all of them on the pitch at the same time, especially coming off the back of a win at the start of the season, to build confidence is going to be crazy important.
Yeah, for sure. And I think chemistry as well. I mean, even Trippier, you put Trippier, he missed a big chunk of time after January. He might only played like 3 or 4 games, I think it was. And then he picked up that foot injury. So, I mean, there's a lot of our key players who haven't actually played much together. Like, even Bruno was eased through his first sort of 5 or 6 games. He made all these sub appearances and then finally got his start. Maxi missed a fair chunk. He was over in France doing his rehab, I remember, as well. So I think there could be a really positive of pre-season that, apart from Shelby, most of our sort of first team squad have remained injury free and hopefully have built that chemistry over the pre-season where they're really familiar with each other and their patterns, and they actually become predictable to one another. And I think that's probably one of the most important things you can be, is predictable to your teammate. You know where he's going to be, you know the runs he needs to make and where he needs to be in certain situations. So the more they play and the more they train together, like Forrest was great, but I mean, that could just be base camp, really. I mean, we could really build during the season through performances like that if everyone can stay together.
Yeah, if Big Joe wants to push for the World Cup, which he clearly wants to do, and we'd all love to see him there, get Joe to Qatar 22 is our little hashtag. Everyone in the team would love to see Big Joe go in, picking up performances against likes of Brighton and other teams around him. It's just going to be imperative to him getting on that plane with Bruno. Getting back to Brighton though, some of their key players. You're looking at Trossard and Welbeck are the two that probably spring to mind. Anybody else in that starting 11?
Oh, well, Gross scored twice last weekend, so he's obviously going to be a player to watch as well. I mean, we've had our comparisons with Trossard and Maxi sort of playing in the same position and things like that, and we obviously really rate what Maxi does with the ball. I think he's shown improvements and what he should be doing, whether it's to pass or to shoot and stuff like that. I actually think he went too far the other way last weekend. He sort of shot when he should have passed and he passed when he should have shot. I think he's sort of starting to get a bit scrambled, but I think he'll end up sort of sharpening that up and making the right decisions more often than not now. But yeah, their team from Man United, I mean, yeah, Trossard, Welbeck and Gross, definitely probably their 3 key players, all attacking players that we sort of really need to keep in check, I think, if we're going to get anything from this game.
Yeah. Welbeck will obviously have eyes out to get a few past us, or at least one from his time playing against for those lot on the other side of the water. Certainly would want to get him into the getting a goal in the back of the net. Don't want him anywhere near the goal. Hopefully Byrne and Shaw, because I'd imagine those two are going to start the match again. I don't think Botman will be called on just yet, but hopefully they can keep him quiet for the 90 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more a midfield sort of battle rather than a Welbeck versus Byrne and Shaw battle. I mean, if our midfield can get on top like they did last week, and I mean, a lot of the game, Forest couldn't get it out of their half, and credit to Willock and Bruno and Big Joe who basically recovered everything and got us back on the front foot again. And I mean, apart from a few little scares, Byrne and Shaw didn't have much to do. They probably had more to do with corners for us rather than defending. And Pope was the same. I mean, Pope had a pretty quiet game, but I think that was all due to what the midfield and the front 3, well, even if you want to call them the front 6, really, the amount of pressure they put on Forest on the ball, it just caused them to turn over all the time. So if Eddie clearly said he wants to play with more of the ball and things like that, that's going to be a real key part to keep players like Welbeck and Trossard and Gross out of the game, is to actually get a foot on the ball and cause turnovers and get the ball and get the game back on our terms.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a tough game. It always is down at the AMEX. Hopefully we can get a repeat of Mo Diame's goal from a few years ago. The greatest goal in history, I believe.
Absolutely. I've never seen another goal like that ever.
In history. I remember watching that game live back home in the UK and just in total disbelief how it happened. It was genuinely the greatest goal never attempted to score. Basic fluke, but we all loved it. And then Perez got the winner on that one. And Chris Hughton, unfortunately, as much as we love the man, his head just dropped when that second goal hit the back of the net.
It's not your day when them goals are going in, though.
Absolutely, yeah. But if you can score one of those every season, you'd be happy. And he's going to go down in folklore because of that, Diarmid, and rightly so as
Every
well.
time we play there, they show that goal, don't they?
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. And like I say, if they ever welcome back Diarmid to Tyneside for a little reunion type thing, have that goal on the big screen on repeat, and everyone will just be glorious watching. It's fantastic. Getting on to the summer transfer window, we've brought in a few players. So Target, we obviously know, was on loan from January. He was made a permanent signing. Pope, you mentioned before. Botman, he made a very small cameo for literally 2-3 minutes when he came on as a sub towards the end. So we've strengthened this summer. However, Brighton, they've sold two of their key players in Bissouma to Spurs and Cucurella to Chelsea. They haven't yet replaced those, though. Is that something that could impact them in this game and more moving forward if they don't strengthen again?
Well, short answer, probably yes, but I mean, they handled it pretty well against Man United away to start with. I don't know how sustainable that is, I guess, during the season. I think we've still got probably 2.5, 3 weeks left of the transfer window. I've got no doubt they'll have their eyes on some players and probably come to try and do the same thing. Probably what we should have done 5 years ago is actually put a bit of time in uncovering some cheap gems like an Ayoze Perez, for example.
Yeah.
Get them on the cheap and flog them off. I mean, if previous owner was all about money, I don't understand how that's the way you make money is you buy them cheap, flog them off high, get the money, reinvest and do it again. So they're probably in an interesting spot now, I reckon, whether they do that again or whether they go down a more experienced sort of player and try and replace a like for like rather than invested in the youth and try and build up and sell high again. So yeah, I think like us, they'll probably have a busy end of the transfer window because I can't see them happy with the squad at the moment with them players that they've lost as well. So yeah, it's one to watch, I think.
We obviously also got two of their one of their players, one of their backroom staff, in Dan Ashworth. He was obviously pivotal to their success over the last few years. And Dan Byrne obviously played there for a few seasons, made the trip up north to come back home back in January. Dan Ashworth is going to be a massive loss to them for that type of recruitment that you just mentioned.
He is, but when we spoke with, I can't remember his name. Andy, that's it. I was thinking of Andy Sixsmith. But yeah, when we spoke with Andy, he sort of alluded to that Dan Ashworth's understudy. Basically, they knew that Dan probably wasn't going to be there for the long haul, so they groomed him up to effectively take his place whenever that time come when he moved on. So I think, yeah, it's as far as what he says, everything is going to run the same because he's going to run the same sort of ship as what Dan ran. So I think whatever their model is, it's working for them. I mean, they're an established Premier League club now, so it makes sense to keep building what they've done, and sort of onwards and upwards for them. So yeah, I don't think too much will change for their sort of off-field structure. I think the guy will just keep doing what Ashworth's done and hope to build on that and maybe get himself another move to a better place as well.
Do you see Brighton as a direct rival to us in pushing that for that mid-table, maybe the 8th to 10th spot for this season?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they were thereabouts. They had a bit of a pretty shitty run at the start of the calendar year this year as well, but they managed to get themselves out of it and finished off the season pretty strong, actually. So I think with the players we've got and hopefully the players we get the next couple of weeks, I think we should be aiming to be better than Brighton, but I think they'll be around. I can see them between a sort of 11, maybe 12 to 8 team. I don't think they'll be in any danger of relegation and stuff like that, but I just don't think they've got the quality to push into that top third of the table.
Yeah, I agree with that. And getting back a game on Saturday, the dangermen that we've got quite a few, with them all being fit. Maxi, Bruno, Joe, just hope he gets his shooting boots on the right feet this time. Miggy, hopefully learns to use his right foot. And then Wilson, as we know, he can score goals for fun when he wants to. And I'd love to go on a goal scoring spree. He says he wants to get 10 before the World Cup to see if he can make that squad. Do you think that's doable?
I think it's doable. Whether his body allows him to do it or not is probably the biggest question mark. I mean, he showed when he plays, he scores. It's pretty simple, but his body just keeps letting him down, unfortunately. But I mean, who do you think's? Pardon me. If Kane's the number one, who'd be England's number two? Do you think? As in terms of the striker.
Jamie Vardy's getting on a bit now. He's, 34, 35. So I don't think he's going to make the squad. He's barely making the Leicester squad towards the back end of last season. And there was I can't remember who it was now, but someone actually said, it was shared on Twitter, that Wilson is probably the second best striker for England right now. And can't really think of anybody else, to be honest. I mean, you got Danny Welbeck, who's playing for Brighton. He's never hit the highlights since leaving Man United. He had a poor spell at Arsenal and ended up in Brighton. There's anybody else spring to mind to you? Because I can't really think of many, to be honest.
Rashford, maybe?
His form lately.
With
Ten Hag,
he's more of the name than actual player, but I mean, I like obviously biased because we watch him not every week, but every time he plays, we watch it. I think he's probably the clear number two. If his body holds up, I think he's the clear number two.
It'd be good to see. I mean, there's not very often Newcastle players represent England over the past few years. I think Trippier was the first one in donkeys. It'd be good to get a good set of players out there in the World Cup, representing the club. Fabian Schär's likely to go, Dubravka. You'd think Pope would make his way to the World Cup as well. Bruno should be. So, yeah. Hopefully Big Joe. I think everyone in the world is rooting for him. And there'll be a few more kicking around there. Maxi, maybe, if he steps up his game. Breaking into the France squad would be really hard to do, but, you never know.
I'm not sure. Has Sweden made the World Cup?
I don't know, because, that could mean Kraft's on that plane as well.
Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah. I hope they didn't, so he can stay with us. And
we could have a good representation in the World Cup, which is good.
Yeah.
Be good to see on that one. So we're going to move on to the formations now. Brighton being the home team, we're going to get those on first. This is just a carbon copy of what they had against Man United. So I'll just run through this one. So in goal, we've got Sanchez. Then starting from the left across the back, we've got Webster, Dunk, who's the captain, Veltman. Then this is where it gets a bit strange, like their second row of third players. So Casado, if I've pronounced that correctly, Mac Allister, Gross, and then the front three, if you want to call it that, of Trossard, Lallana, Solly March, and then up front on his own, Danny Welbeck. It doesn't look right on paper, that formation, does it, Keegan?
No, it looks really, that's what I said before, it looked really, really weird. And until you'd have to actually watch the game, you probably actually have to watch it from behind a goal to actually see who's where, and you know what I mean. I don't think they'd actually play like that. Whether Gross and Sahado are wing backs and McAllister's more of a sitting midfielder. I mean, there's probably 10 different ways that they could play with that.
Absolutely,
it might be confusing for an opposition. Maybe that's could be a big week for Dan Burn in at the training centre, going through how they play, and he'd know obviously the ins and outs. He was there. I couldn't see Graham Potter massively changing the way he played over the off season. So hopefully he's given the coaching staff a good piece of information and how they want to play and where perhaps they're vulnerable as well. So hopefully Dan can, and maybe both Dans can come through with the goods and give us some stuff we can look to exploit on the weekend.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how that formation's even going to play, because to be honest, I didn't see much of the Man United game, just some brief highlights. But it is one that you're obviously saying can be fluid and how it can change. So maybe they do drop to a 3-5-2, something like it.
Yeah.
They can change it however they want to, depending on how the game's flown and the dynamics of the game. They could match us like for like in terms of formation, which will be interesting to see because I know our formation changes depending on attack versus defense as well. And Potter is a cracker manager. He's going to be up there with maybe the likes of Eddie Howe in terms of the next best English manager. It's good to see these young English managers coming through because they've always just been told to bugger off to the lower leagues and see what you can do there, whilst everyone gets in these Italian, Spanish,
Dinosaurs.
Portuguese managers and
All the old
thinking,
English dinosaurs who come in.
well, yeah, let's not try to mention a certain cabbage head. Yeah, it's good to see English managers coming through finally. An English managers never won the Premiership.
Oh, really? Oh, no,
Yeah,
because
Alex Ferguson,
Ferguson
Scottish.
and Kenny Dalglish are both Scottish, aren't they?
Yeah. So in the 30 years, I think it's 30 years this year for the Premier League, an English manager has never won it. So hopefully Eddie can be the first. That'd be some type of accolade, that wouldn't it? That'd be absolutely superb.
That is a damning stat, that.
It's a huge statement. Give it maybe 5-6 years. Who knows? You never know. It's definitely possible in the future if we can build the way we want to, rather than the way Twitter wants us to, where we just seem to be wanting to buy everybody for stupid amounts of money and fuck financial fair play because other clubs have got away with it. They will punish us big time if we even spend a penny over what we can do. You can just see it's written in the stars.
That'd be the cookie counters would be working overtime, dotting every I and crossing every T of what we do now.
Yep, absolutely. One of the players I want to mention there is Solly March. He's been around for a little while. He's a bit unpredictable and has a cracking cross on him as well. It's something that we'd have to keep an eye on that. And he may have a target wrapped around his little finger. Hopefully, Target and put him in his back pocket. Target's been quite solid since he came in January on loan and signed permanently. So hopefully that's something that should be an interesting battle. Target versus March. Be looking forward to that one. And Trippier, he could have his hands full with Trossard. He's always going to be a handful, as we know, as we mentioned previously. And Welbeck, he'll just float around, feeding off loose balls and hopefully not getting much out of the game. And Dunk is Mr. Reliable in terms of defence. He actually scored against us back in March, I believe.
He did, yes. So hopefully he doesn't do it again. Hopefully none of them do it again.
Yeah, hopefully Dan Burns learned his lesson on that one and keeps him well out of the set pieces because they're both 6 up plus with those two. So I imagine that'd be a man-for-man marker on that one. But moving on to our squad, you've gone with exactly the same one that you went against Forest. Surprised you didn't swap Longstaff out for Willock, considering he started. Any particular reason?
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I meant we'll have the same as Forest, as in what we played with on Saturday.
Well, scrap that then. Get rid of Longstaff. We're going to put Willock in.
Get rid of Longstaff and Botman and Byrne and Willock are in. But there's no reason for us to change. We're pretty dominant. Not pretty dominant. We were very dominant on the weekend. Yeah. I haven't heard anything injury wise to suggest that people will miss. So yeah, there's no point changing a winning formula. A full week break as well. So rotation's not a problem. It's probably nearly as good as we can probably put out at the moment, I reckon.
Yeah, I'd say that is pretty much our strongest 11. Maybe Bar Shelby, which 6 months ago I didn't think any of us would be saying that. But yeah, he's going to be missed until probably after the World Cup. And with his injury, he might not even make the 25-man squad, which, if anything, would kind of make sense because that means we could bring in somebody else without sacrificing somebody. Would that be a call you would make if he's going to miss that amount of game time?
Yeah, it's a delicate one. I mean, you'd have to be in the real sort of inner sanctum, I guess, of the medical team, the surgeons, the sports science guys, high performance unit. They'll all sort of have to have that discussion along with the coaches. And I mean, you'd hate for him to get back early, and you've left him out because you thought he was going to get back later. I mean, it might come down to what they do the next couple of weeks in the transfer market. I mean, if they can bring in Madison or another sort of central midfielder as well, they might sort of lean towards leaving him out. If they don't, they might leave him in because, I mean, if he gets back early, you don't know. But like I said, it's a conversation that the surgeons and the medical team have to have with the coaches. And we, as bad as it is, we don't really ever find out the extent of injuries from the club. So they're pretty tight-lipped. I mean, still don't know what's happening with Jamal Lewis or Fede Fernandez. So, I mean, and they're not really key players. So I don't think if they're not willing to divulge that information on fringe squad players, I don't think they'll sort of be upfront with one of their key players as well, which is unfortunate in a way. But, I mean, things seem to be not getting leaked out as much as they used to. They run a pretty tight ship at the moment. So
I'm all for that as well, to be honest. I really am.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I agree with that too. There's nothing worse than, I was going to say there's nothing worse than stories getting leaked in the media, but when the stories about Matt Ritchie and Steve Bruce getting separated, I didn't mind them leaking stories.
Yeah.
But,
no, those are the ones that you want to hear, yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones I like, that they're 50,000 people and how many hundreds of thousands that watched the game weren't all idiots and didn't think that he knew what he was doing. The players thought the same thing. So it was a bit of justified our angst and sort of make you feel good, like you know a little bit what you're talking about.
Yeah. Do you see this game being won in the midfield?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think whoever's midfield gets on top will probably win the game. If they neutralise each other, it'll probably be a draw, I think. But I mean, we've got some quality in there as well. So do they. I think ours is a little bit better than them, but I still think it's probably more with Miggy and ASM and Wilson. You can it's that front six who really, it's their job to press up, give him no time on the ball, force him long, make him make bad passes, get the ball back, and then we can sort of start playing our way. So, yeah, I think if they get enough time on the ball, then we could be in for a long day. But if we can rush them and press them and make them in and make bad decisions, then we could come out on top.
Yeah. You'd expect a totally different type of team compared to what we played against Forest. A lot more experience in the top league, obviously, and they've probably got a lot more quality players. So we can't expect the same type of performance as we did against Forest. It'd be great if we did, but I think you're right. It's going to be a lot more of a tight game, more of a 50-50 possession rather than a massively swinging in favour of somebody else's. But I don't think it's going to be tight. And just going to confirm your formation then and your lineup. So you're literally going with the same as that started against Forest?
Yeah.
Yep, I suppose if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, and Eddie's a great philosopher of that. If you're playing well, you're in the squad. Simple as that. He doesn't care who your name is on the back of the shirt. If you're playing well, you're in. And that's the way it should be as well, to be honest.
Yeah, really I agree.
So that gets the formations and the lineups out the way. Now, the big thing here, Keegan, is your match day prediction.
Do I have
just
to make
give you
one?
a quick few of them. Lee went for, I think it was 3-2 Newcastle, maybe in 2-2, can't remember. And Dimmy went for a draw. What about you?
Yeah, I'm loath to give a prediction after I nailed my 2-0 last week. So I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1?
1-1.
You want to go for a scorer?
Yeah. Wilson. Why not?
Wilson? Well, I'm going to go for 2-0 again. And I think Bruno's going to get his first goal of the season. We don't normally pick scorers, but new season, new trends, might as well go for it. Bruno's going to get his first goal and another 2-0 win with another clean sheet, which I think is going to be unheard of. You know, that win against Forest for how it was our first ever clean sheet on a home win at St James's in 20 years.
That's frightening too.
It is everything about Mike Ashley's era, doesn't it?
Who is your other scorer?
Other scorer, I'm going to go with Maxi. I think they're both going to. I think Wilson's going to have a cracking game. He's going to create a lot of chances. He'll just be unlucky. But yeah, I think we'll come away with the win with Maxi and Bruno getting the goals.
Yeah, like I said, he scored a severely underrated goal last weekend. It was quality. But apart from that, he's pretty anonymous. I thought he wasn't really in the game at all. But I mean, that's a showing of a good striker. He only needs a couple of sniffs to put one away. So
yeah, he only really had that one chance. Yeah, and he buried it with aplomb. It was superb.
Yeah, I think he only had like 6 touches in the whole first half as well. And
really,
we dominated the game. It wasn't like we were on the back foot. We were actually on the front foot charging. And yeah, whether that's he seemed to go to the far post when he should have come to the near post, and I just don't think his timing was. He's right. I think as soon as he got it right, he scored. So
we'll go a little bit of rust. Yeah, we're looking to score again. Again, get him to 10, so he tries to make the World Cup squad. That's obviously what he's aiming for, and we'd all love to be there. So that pretty much concludes the preview of the Brighton game. Now, we are going to be doing a live watch-along of that game. If anybody did watch the live watch-along of the Forest game, you know how good they were in terms of interaction with everybody that's online. We do a live commentary of the game as well, and we'd love it if you could join us, be part of that again. We kick off 30 minutes before kickoff, and we'd love everyone to be there. So if you're already subscribed to the channel, set a reminder. There's a link already on our YouTube page for that. It'd be great to see you all there. Now, we're going to talk about the breaking, well, I wouldn't say breaking news, but news of this morning. The second round draw of the Carabao Cup, I think that's how it's pronounced. Newcastle United have the massive Tranmere Rovers away, which games to be played week of the 22nd of August. Don't think the date's been confirmed yet, but it'll be a Wednesday or a Thursday game, you'd imagine. Thoughts on that second round draw?
Well, yeah, it's as good as you probably could have asked for, really. We avoided sort of a championship team and a Premier League team as well. So it's pretty good draw. We should win. I mean, we should win, but could be a good chance. I think we've got enough depth now to not field not a weakened team, but like we shouldn't be playing 4 or 5 academy kids.
Yeah,
it could be a good game. I think we got Wolves. It's sandwiched between 2 away games as well. I think Wolves was one. I can't remember who the other one was, but there's 2 away games, and that's our away game midweek. So it could be a good chance for Pope to not play, whether Dubravka's still here or Darlow's still here, whoever's still here, give them a run out. And we've still got enough, I think, quality who didn't even play on the weekend, who could step up and play that game. Guys like Longstaff, Fraser, Murphy, Wood, Lascelles, I know he pulled out in the warm-up, but give him a run around. 90 minutes for Elliot Anderson. Dummett could get a run out as well. I mean, who knows if Lewis will be fit or Fernandez will still be here, Richie will still be here. Who knows, but there's enough players there who should be able to go down and comfortably get the job done at Tranmere.
It's a good, strong second 11, I'd like to call it, rather than a reserve team or anything. A good second 11 should have more than enough to see them through. Hopefully we get to the third round, and a home fixture for the third would be a nice result. And then a nice cruisy way to the final and lifting the cup in, is it March, I think they do it now for the final?
Yeah, it's early. Yeah, well, last time we made the quarterfinals, everyone said we had a good cup run, but it was more of a cup limp or a walk. It wasn't it wasn't actually a cup run. I don't think we beat any decent team. We were penalties against championship teams and scraped against League One teams as well. Like it was hardly a cup run. It was as good as it was. It was a bit embarrassing as well. But I mean that second 11, if you want to call it that. That's been our first 11 for a lot of the last probably 3 or 4 years. So yeah, it's good that they're not in the first 11 anymore. Put it that way.
Totally agree. So yeah, we're all hoping for winning that one. Newcastle make it through to the third round and progress as far as we possibly can in the cup. We will be doing a little preview review of that game once we've got confirmed dates and everything as well. So keep an eye on that on the channel too. So now we're going to talk about transfers, the big talking hot topic of this summer. Are Newcastle going to splash the cash? Are Newcastle going to break the bank and buy everybody that they're interested in? Everybody was super excited for this window because we were expected to spend 300 million, 500 million, whatever. Now, everyone knows realistically that was never going to be the case. It was always going to be progression, spend, with slight increases each single time. We don't have the revenue streams or anything that we can even compete with any of the bigger teams just yet. In Swiss Ramble, the Twitter page, who is ridiculously clever at what he does in breaking down and simplifying why clubs are spending money, why they're not spending money, and the reasons behind it. And Keegan's just going to go through some of the key points as to why Newcastle have been doing what they do in the transfer window so far.
Yeah, I'll give a simple explanation for people who don't want to read or don't like to read or anything like that. And just to know, Jack's actually done a more expansive and more in-depth analysis and breakdown of what the article is, and sort of put it a bit more into layman's terms. There's a lot of reading and it's easy to get confused with what's what, and there's graphs, and yeah, it's confusing. So basically, the reason we can't go and spend all that money is not that we don't have it, but we don't have it to spend. The profit and sustainability rules, which have basically replaced the financial fair play rules, you can only lose £35 million per year over a 3-year rolling period, which is, what's that, about 105 million over 3 years. So it's actually a rolling 3-year period. So, I mean, if you've lost 20 million for the year, which this sort of happened during the COVID couple of years as well, so your spending's less and less now because you've already lost that 18 million. So the way to offset that, I guess, is basically through commercial revenue, like you said, Craig. You've got to generate, and with what our previous ownership done with commercial revenue was basically disgusting and non-existent, really. I think, hang on, I've just written this down. You could, so Chelsea. Oh, actually, you can also do it through player sales as well. That's a good way. So Chelsea made £344 million profit over the last 4 years through player sales. Now, you'd have to actually buy players to sell them, unfortunately. Yeah. So that crosses out that revenue stream for us. So in 2021, which was the last time our accounts were published, we actually had a revenue of £140 million, which was actually 15th highest in the Premier League. So 3 of them teams have gone down already. So it's actually, we were basically right down the bottom of commercial revenue. So we can't, the money's not actually there to do it. And when Eddie Howe speaks in press conferences and stuff about we can't do it and it's going to be a slow build, well, that's the slow build is we have to start getting more commercial revenue through the club. Now, that's through like sponsorships, and they might look at potentially getting training gear sponsors as well, like front of shirt training gear sponsors like the bigger clubs do. I mean, Man United have got different training sponsors to what their match day sponsors are as well. So that's another way we can do it. Renaming the training facility, get that sponsorship that way as well. Naming rights for a stadium, that's another way to do it. I'm not sure how that'll go down, but yeah, basically we'll be able to spend more money in transfer windows when we increase our commercial revenue. That's probably the best way to do it, because we're not in a position to sell players and generate money through player sales at the moment. I mean, the players we've let go was more of a salary dump, I think, than a cash grab with Hendrick and Dwight Gale and Isaac Hayden and players like that. I don't think they would have got much money for them. It was more about getting their wages off the books.
Yeah.
So, that's basically why Eddie's saying what he's saying, because they know the last couple of years of the last 3 years was heavily impacted by COVID. So the profit's not there. So once we can actually generate more money through the club through sponsorships, and I've got luckily Fun 88's up at the end of this year, I believe. They've terminated that early. So then what was it? Noon was $7.5 million or something, the shirt sleeve sponsor. So
which is more than what Fun 88 is now.
Yeah, for a front of shirt sponsor. So you think hopefully they're looking at probably doubling what they get for a front of shirt sponsor. I know they talk up it's got to be the Premier League have brought these fancy rules in. It's got to be market value, but I mean, like, how do you determine market value? I mean, how can you put a price on how much exposure it'll get through Saudi Arabia and things like that? It's just an absolute joke. Like, you can't actually prove it. I don't think it'd stand up in court if it got to that point as well. But yeah, it's pretty much, as soon as we can start increasing our revenue, we'll increase our transfers as well. And I think that's why they've been pretty crafty these last couple of windows with their signings. They haven't really lashed out, and I think that's why they've been very cautious with their sort of big money signings, and like players like Madison that they've gone in for. They want to nail their transfers because they're not in a position where they can buy 6 players and 3 of them are no good. They've got to really do their due diligence. And I said in one of our earlier shows that I think that's why they've gone towards more English players, where they know what they're going to get. They know they're not going to get homesick. They've played in the league. They'll adapt to the league and all that. So I think they're being very safe with their money. And apart from, like, Bruno, I think they knew what they were going to get with Bruno. They've got high hopes for Botman as well. But all the other players we've brought in, we've been under nearly 15 million, haven't they? So
yeah,
they've been really shrewd. Oh, apart from Wood, but I think most people in the club will admit Wood was a need, not a want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they had to get that striker in, and they just had to pay it and get it done. But apart from that, all the other ones have been under 20 million, and they've been really, really shrewd signings. So yeah, until they can generate more revenue, which I've got no doubt Darren Eales is going to play a massive role in that as well. He was really well renowned at Atlanta for his commercial smartness, and he's really savvy in that space. So I think he was headhunted. That's what I think. I think he was headhunted for that exact reason.
Perfect. Great. But yeah, as Keegan mentioned, Jack has done an audio-only podcast, which covers that in a lot more detail. So if you do want to know a bit more about it, click the link in the description below, and that'll take you to your favorite podcast site, whether it be Apple, Spotify, or Amazon. It'll be available there for you. Good to go. And moving on to the last part of this podcast, we're going to do a little roundup of some transfer rumours and news that has maybe happened over the last 48, 72 hours or so. And the first one, and this name just doesn't seem to want to go away, and that is James Madison of Leicester. This is a name that sprang out of nowhere about maybe 10 days ago, where Keegan and myself done a quick pod as the news was breaking. Very exciting news, very exciting player. But the fee may just be out of our reach compared to what you've just been saying, Keegan. Apparently Leicester wants 60 million. We've offered, I think it's 43 million plus 12 in bonuses. That takes it to 55. Do you think that deal will happen? Or do you think it's just going to drag on another saga and then we'll move on to somebody else?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I could see it going both ways. I can see Leicester, maybe Brendan Rodgers gets to a point where they need the money to get new players, but why would they let one of their best players go in the first place? They want to get better, but it's a slippery slope, isn't it? Like, do you want to get better? Well, you have to generate money. You're only going to generate money from selling your best players. So,
correct.
Yeah, how do you juggle it? I'm not sure. Given their lack of spending, would they even spend that money? Will he just pocket?
Well, yeah,
will
there
the
is
owner
that
just
one.
pocket the money as well? Because who knows? Like, will he sell for 50? Here's 30. I'm taking 20. I don't know, but the fact that they've allegedly gone back in for him, I think, shows that there still is an interest there to get a deal done. But how they do it and how they structure it to satisfy what Leicester want, I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and I think if we do get him, as we mentioned and as you mentioned back when on that breaking news pod, he's going to walk straight into that starting 11 if he does, and he'll significantly improve our squad, but significantly weaken Leicester's. And again, they probably are a direct rival for us this season.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely are. They're in that 7 to 12 sort of range, I reckon. Like if I think were Chelsea in for one of their players as well?
Fofana,
that's who it was. Yeah, I mean, if they sell him, do they say no? We're keeping Madison because we've got that money now. We don't need. Like, there's so much to play out in the next 2 and a bit weeks. You think it's been crazy up until now. I think it's going to get turned up to 11 the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely. The next player, and this is a player that I've been banging on for a little while now, and we were linked with him a few weeks ago, went a bit quiet, and that player is Callum Hudson-Odoi of Chelsea, a right winger, a position that we've made no secret that we want to improve on this transfer window. There's talks of it being a loan with maybe an option to buy, and not too sure on how that would work out. He's a player that I would love to see at the club. I think he's lost his way at Chelsea, but as of quite a few players of late. Is he somebody you would like to see at the club? And what do you make of his playing style?
Yeah, I think he's definitely someone we want at the club, and I think he fits the profile and the age sort of demographic as what we're looking for as well. Young players who can improve and things like that. But yeah, I think from an article, I think it might have been Chris Wolf in The Athletic had mentioned that they have been in touch with Chelsea and have sort of said to them, if you're looking at moving players on either permanently or on loan, we'd definitely be interested in a few of their players. I think Pulisic is maybe in the same boat as well. He's another winger. Whether we go that high is a bit of a step up on Hudson-Odoi. But I mean, if he's not going to play, he probably wants to get a bit of game time as well. He'd walk straight into our team and improve us significantly as well. And it does, even if it's a loan, that could be something they look at given the money issues and things like that. So, yeah, I think there's legs there. Which one they go for, yeah, I don't know, but it's definitely a position that we need filling, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's tons of clubs after Hudson-Odoi. Chances are you probably want to stay in London. West Ham and Palace are after him. Wouldn't like to go to either of those because, again, West Ham, they're a cracking team. They've recruited really well this summer. And I would love to see Hudson-Odoi with us. I think he's cracking cross on him. Naturally, he's almost like a traditional style winger where he can just get his head down, run and cross. No need to cut in or anything like what Maxi and Miggy does.
Yeah, but he's a better Miggy, put it that way.
Yeah, it's not that hard to do. If
and maybe that could mean Miggy moves as like a Maxi understudy backup option, and Hudson-Odoi and Fraser can be more of your players on the right. But yeah, like I said, there's so much to play out. There's probably a few names that haven't been reported or leaked yet, which we don't even know about that'll definitely be coming up. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's almost a case of just turn your phone off, turn your notifications off, and turn them back on and see who we just end up with at the end of the window. Because if you're trying to keep track of what's going on, you won't have a life. It's just mental at the moment.
Best off just going to sleep and waking up the first week of September and then putting Sky Sports on.
Yeah.
And see what happens with that.
But,
third and final player I want to talk about.
There's been another one though, hasn't there?
Yes. This is Gonçalo, and I hope I pronounced that right. Portuguese is my first language, as anyone can tell. Gonçalo Ramos. I had no idea about this player until about this time yesterday, maybe a little bit earlier. He's a 21-year-old striker, currently plays for Benfica. There is talks of a bid in excess of 30 million euros, which is pretty much the same as what we were willing to pay for Ekitike. So the funds are definitely there. We all know what happened with Ekitike and went to PSG. So hopefully it's not a repeat of that farce, because that just grew too long in the tooth too quick. That really did. Now, he's not a lot of first-team action, but for the Portuguese under-21 squad, he's got 14 goals in 18 games. I don't care what level of international football that is. That's a really good turnaround. That's really cool. And 3 goals, 1 assist in 2 Champions League qualifiers already this season, and 2 assists, but 0 goals in the League Two. And just like us, they've only played 1 league game this season. So he's got goals in him. Again, probably not at the highest level, albeit the Champions League qualifiers. That's a good turnaround. But do you know much about this player at all? Anything you can fill us in on, Keegan?
No, I was the same as you. I never heard of him until 24 hours ago, but I was just looking at some stuff today. Played 29 games last year for Benfica. 12 of them came as a sub as well. So, yeah, he wasn't a regular, but he's probably a 20-year-old kid who's just trying to find his way. So he could be Ekitike version 2.0 maybe. He's got the age profile, striker, overseas. So I think, and I've said this from day one of the transfer window, there's going to be 50 million names we're going to be thrown around until there's a handful of reporters I actually trust, and if they report it, then I believe there is something in it. Everyone's friend Fabrizio Romano was one of them, and he tweeted something out a couple of hours before we recorded as well, saying the interest is real and there's been contact made. So there's definitely legs there. Now, where that goes, does that mean we're going to load up on a winger or get that winger on loan? Now, if we're going to spend the money on a striker, we'll probably know more in the next 48 hours, I reckon.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting end of the week, that's for sure. Hopefully we can get a bit more of a concrete idea of what's happening before kickoff on Saturday or Sunday morning for us anyway. That'd be a good thing. A signing before the game will just probably have the voice of the fans a little bit more vocal. The way fans are never known to be quiet anyway. But yeah, if they've got another name to cheer on for, that'd be absolutely fantastic. And just like I was talking about Hudson-Odoi, how that right winger position is a place that we really need a strengthening. The strike, if anything, is even more important.
I mean, yeah. How do you see a signing of a striker? Do you see it as a backup to Wilson, or do you think that he'll be basically third choice and Wood will be second choice?
I think, to be honest, Wood would be third choice, depending on. I think they'll both get given an equal amount of game time. Maybe alternate subs every other match or so, and see who then gets the best with the short amount of time they'll get. But I think this young lad, he's going to have bags of energy. From what I've seen on YouTube, I know you should never look at YouTube as a reference point.
Or on a bus, Jack.
Oh, yeah, on a bus. YouTube videos make Emmanuel Riviere look like prime time Zidane, so never use YouTube as a reference, but he's certainly a very mobile player, which is something maybe Wood lacks. So, it could be something that plays in our advantages. We play a bit more expansive football, ball to the feet, which Eddie obviously wants to play. So I could see him stepping up above Wood in that aspect, and Wood just becomes a third choice. Plays the Dwight Gale role, effectively, from last season.
There for his match payments.
He'll play maybe 5 minutes of any other game if we've got injuries or suspensions, that sort of thing. But yeah, again, 30 million. It's pretty much the fee that was quoted for Ekiteke, so the funds definitely are there for him. We were pretty much all ready to transfer the money, and then he decided to hold on and go to PSG. So this one looks as though it's got legs, as you mentioned, Fabrizio Romano. He pretty much confirmed it. And until we get the "here we go" tweet and he's holding up the shirt, anything can happen. So just be mindful that the players that we're talking about, they're nowhere near confirmed, but they are some of the stronger players that we have been linked with as of late. But as Keegan said, no doubt there will be many more over the next 2.5, 3 weeks or so. That is pretty much summing up the pod for today. So we've covered the Brighton preview. Sorry, we've covered the league draw against Tranmere and a little update on the transfers. So thanks to everyone who's tuned in on the audio side of things. Thanks to those that are watching on YouTube as well. Please give us a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us move forward, get better quality guests on, and improve the channel as well. Thanks for Keegan for jumping on this evening. I'll let you go and enjoy your tea or whatever it is you plan on doing for the rest of the night.
Sleeping. Thank you, mate. You too.
No worries. Let's have a good one, and hopefully we'll wake up with some good news that we've signed a player or there's a player on his way to Tyneside.
That'd be great.
So thanks very much, Keegan, and I'll see everyone on the next pod.
No worries, Craig.
Have a good one, and we will see you on the next one. Cheers, lads.
See ya.